What's happening in Naperville? The biggest question that I get from buyers and sellers across the board is, when is the right time, ... When's the right time to sell? When's the right time to buy? That we're going to talk about this week, as well as the numbers up next on the Naperville Real Estate Weekly Market Update.
Owning a home in Naperville is about living a great life today and investing in a secure tomorrow. On this show, we're going to give you the tools to do both. Welcome to the Naperville Real Estate Weekly Market Update.
Naperville, what's going on? I'm Chris Grano from Keller Williams. Alongside me is Todd Gosden from Compass Mortgage. This is the Naperville Real Estate Weekly Market Update. Todd, how you doing, man?
I am doing great today. Thank you for asking.
And welcome back. We had to record. We recorded without Todd last week, and I was like a lost puppy. I didn't know what to do.
Of course you were. Of course you were.
So we're glad to have you back. We're going to talk a little bit, of course, as always, about the numbers. But today, I already kind of teased it. We're going to talk about timing. And it's this, anytime we talk about any markets, right? This show is about the real estate market, but whether we're talking about, the real estate market or the stock market, the subject of timing always comes up. And Todd, I see people just agonize over this idea. Do you as well?
Oh my gosh. Listen, everybody's into it right now, right? This is a difficult environment for everybody because there's so many people looking to buy houses, and it doesn't matter what state you're in, Chris. Seriously, It's wherever you're at, you feel like you're out there fighting for every opportunity to be able to buy the house you truly want. It's a little bit crazy. It
is. And I think people are always looking for them, especially, this market and the stock market. They're always looking for that magic formula of,
totally.
If I see this indicator, then I do this, then I do that. So we'll get into that a little bit more in depth. For right now, let's just kind of take a look at Naperville's numbers. And so this week, it's, again, pretty similar story. We're actually down a little bit in activity from last week. Don't know if I have a reason for that for you, but I'm just here to present the data. 111 new listings in Naperville, down about 18% from last week. Got 89 contracts this week in Naperville. That's actually down 26%. So again, I don't know, maybe, people are maybe going on vacations or things are starting to happen. Maybe people are finally doing other things besides looking at houses. And we had 60 properties closed this week in Naperville. So there's your activity. Let's take a look at the inventory, which is relatively unchanged, really going back as much as a month now. So we're looking at under $500,000. We're still at 2.39 months supply of inventory. That's right where it's been, within a couple of percentage points here and there. But one thing that's changing, Todd, is consistently the days on market is going down, 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 down. So we're at, just to give you a reference point, back in the beginning of April, we were at 51 days on market for the average home under that price point. That means, how long it takes to sell. Then 47, 44, a little blip up to 46, 35, 30, and now 28. So that's pretty significant. It means it's good news for sellers. It just means the urgency is all that much higher for buyers.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's crazy, right? You've got to act fast. That's what these numbers, that's what we're trying to do with these numbers, guys, is we're trying to help you put it into context, not just numbers for numbers' sake, but what does that mean for buyers? It means that the time when you are shopping, the time is now. It means, hey, can we go look at this house today? Not, hey, can we go look at this house this weekend? Right. So it's gotta be pretty quick. We look at the next level up. We're still 272 month supply of inventory in that 500 to 750 range. So still strong sellers market and everything below 750 in Naperville. And then above 750 again, mirroring the last few weeks, we're at 6.23, which is really a balanced market. So continuing to see that sort of tale of two markets at the 750 being that divider point between what we might consider to be luxury properties above and then just, entry level, mid level below. So if you're looking for a luxury property right now, you don't have to worry as much as some of the folks who are trying to get the properties under. So good for you. All right, Todd, we got the numbers out of the way. So what have you got for us? I know you told me you have some numbers that you might want to throw at me this week.
Well, and I think there's a lot of things here. I mean, people have to realize that I think a couple of things are going to start happening over the course of the next coming days and months. And a few things of this. The Federal Reserve, who, believe it or not, buys the supply of mortgage bonds in tremendous amounts, is deciding that they are going to start taking themselves out of doing that as much as they have in the past. So what happens is when they will stop buying, which means we're going to start seeing interest rates creep up just a little bit. And as interest rates creep up, you got to understand is that's going to slow down this market just a little bit, most likely. At least that's what everybody thinks. That's number one. And with a slowdown in the market, you're going to find inventory starting to climb, and you're going to start finding hopefully some sort of balance for buyers and sellers to be able to find an opportunity to sell a home and buy a home without it being like a frenzy, right?
Right.
So I think that's important to recognize. And some people go, well, how much do you think rates are going to go up? Well, if rates go to 3.5%, there's a whole bunch of people in January of 2020 that wished they had 3.5% of an interest rate. It's all perspective, everybody. And I mean, yes, we've had some moments of 90 days or so where rates were crazy low in the twos, but rates are rising, and that's what's going to create a little bit more balance in the market. I think a few other things that I think that we have to take into account, and I know a lot of economists are taking this also into account, is people are wondering, listen, is there a bubble to this market? Well, the reality is there's no bubble that's going to happen like happened 12 and 13 years ago when we had the crash. Why? So why is the question? Well, number one is that the amount of equity people have in homes is higher than it's ever been. People have a lot of equity in their homes, and that is the highest statistically that we've seen as long as they've been recording these numbers, I believe. I think the other thing to keep in mind with that is when you start thinking about that is lending is completely different. Lending is very strict now, meaning that there's no doing loans without pay stubs. There's no loans without doing tax returns. The reality is that people are able to afford these homes at these prices, and they're buying homes, either paying cash or, in many cases, 52%, I believe, is the number of people putting at least 20% down on properties right now, even at the higher values. So that says something we didn't have 12 and 13 years ago, and the appraisal area has become more strict, right? And so we have lots of variables, but there's one variable we always keep forgetting about is we have pretty consistently over time had 4.8 to 5.2 million homes sold and bought every single year in the United States. Right, Chris?
Right.
Here's something interesting, is that the average home buyer right now is 30 years old. 5 million millennials in 2021 are turning 30. Just so you know, another 5 million millennials are turning 30 in 2022. And just so you know, another 5 million are turning in 2023. So there is plenty of people at an age group that has been specifically shown that that's when they buy homes, that there is so many people that want to buy homes at this age group, that where will the slowdown happen? I think the slowdown will happen because of interest rates. I think the slowdown will happen because of difficulty in getting loans and people actually putting down payment money down, whereas back in those days, 12, 13 years ago, it was 100% financing. We have so many positive things going in our direction that we can do to assist or help you understand with what's going on here. But I think the other thing you need to know is 15% of millennials this year are paying cash for houses.
It's amazing.
So think about that. We never had that, because if you look at the average home buyer back in those days, it was a lot less, with a lot less dollars to put down and a lot less restrictions on their credit. So is a bubble going to work? Well, I think that, is it to say it's impossible? No, but to say is it likely? Many economists don't think so right now. They mean there is too many positive things going in the housing market. But I think one thing for sure it's going to bring everybody a little bit of ease is just knowing that interest rates are going to pop a little bit and slow down this engine just a little bit. How was that for an economic report?
That was like awesome. And there's so many things that you hit on that just resonate. I mean, that's a report, but then in the marketplace, you see the evidence of these things you're talking about. It's reality.
Sure.
This is the reality of what's happening. And there's a couple things, that I always try to calm folks' fears that again are also different. I mean, the inventory for one from 2008 versus now is entirely different. That is what's generally driving this price increases right now is the supply demand curve, which is heavily favoring, it's much more demand than there is supply right now. So a lot of folks wonder, is the bubble going to pop? Well, not unless we see a huge increase in inventory or a huge slow in demand. I just saw a stat that if you look at new home building in the United States from like the 1940s by decade, we averaged about 25 million new homes being built each year. We had 5 million built, or excuse me, each decade. We had 5 million homes built in the decade between 2010 and 2020. So a 5 times slowdown in new construction is also majorly responsible for this lack in inventory. And you understand why new home builders did it, because they were coming out of the crash and there was, a lot of hesitancy. But now they're trying to make up for this lost time, and it's just not there yet. And so, one of the other things is that you pointed out what millennials are doing. I mean, you said the average home buyer is age 30, right on the money. For so many of my buyers are coming to me at 30, 31, 32, and they are first time home buyers. So this is not a lot of these folks are not first time home buyers, buying a $250,000, $300,000 house. These are folks who have been in their careers now for 7-8 years, have chosen strategically to rent during that time and save up. And I've got a lot of first time home buyers buying $500,000 and $600,000 houses, and with, like you said, with 20%, 25% down payments.
I believe the National Association of Realtors statistic on this is that 52% of all purchases thus far this year have been first-time home buyers.
Yeah, you can understand why. You can understand why. And the other thing to back that up and to allay some fears, I just got off the phone with someone who was asking me about, we're going to see all these foreclosures, and some of that remains to be seen. But we've talked about this, Todd, is that when you look at the jobs that were lost during the pandemic, the vast majority of them were folks under the age of 25. And even more concentrated under the age of 21. Now, hey, I don't want to see anybody lose jobs, and I'm hopeful that we'll see better numbers next month than we did this past month in job increases. But the reality is, it's not homeowners for the most part. Obviously, there's individual cases. It's not mostly homeowner age people who lost their job during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So
Very
I think that's.
huh?
I think that gives people some comfort. And so then let's just kind of like top that off and talk about the timing, right? So we've talked about the market conditions. Then what does that mean for a buyer or a seller as far as the timing? And I'm just going to give kind of the softy answer here, but it's really what I believe. The timing is what's right for you, right? Like, I'll give you my investment philosophy. I invest in the stock market. I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching do as well. I don't invest more when the market's down. I don't invest less when the market's up. I have a certain percentage that I put in every month after month after month after month, and it's just consistent. And I'm going to see the ups, I'm going to see the downs, but over the life of the market, when I'm ready to retire, it's going to do its work. It's kind of the same way I personally view a personal residence. If you're going to move, it's probably not going to be because it's a hot market or because it's a slow market. It's because you got to go to that other school district, or you got to take a job somewhere else, or you got to downsize because you're getting older and mobility's getting limited. These are factors of why most people buy and sell. Yep. Right. And
well,
I'm sure
there is no right
time.
Don't time it, because you'll lose every time. There's nothing to time. If you find something you like, then buy it. Yeah. Right. There's no perfect interest rate. There's no perfect price. There is the attachment that you have and can see a vision of you building a family or downsizing into that home. Right. It comes really down to that. So I 100% agree with your softness approach in that, to be able to say that buy when it's ready. Yes. Buy when you're ready. Yeah. But the key is being prepared to buy. And we've talked about that in past episodes. So just make sure you're preparing. So when you are making an offer, you can make it right away versus having to go through the process.
So, and then I'll tie it up by saying, so who shouldn't buy right now from a buying perspective. I had a conversation with a client, last week, and she's looking at, do I buy? Do I rent? And I said, well, where are you going to be in 3 years? She said, I don't know. I think I might be moving out of state. And I said, so if you don't have a high level of confidence that you're going to even be in this state 3 years from now,
that's right.
Don't buy. Don't buy. I mean, because there's obviously going to be some expenses when you sell, and it's like stock market, right, Todd? If you're saving up to buy a car, right, you're going to pay cash for your next car. You're going to save up for it. You're probably not going to stick that money in a mutual fund if you hope to spend it in the next 16 to 20 months. You're going to stick it in a real safe savings account. So it's kind of the same idea. If you're making a very short-term residential move, probably don't buy, and that's okay.
100% right.
So
you got it.
Hey, man, I think that's all good stuff. Hopefully we gave people some confidence in what's going on and alleviated some fears. If you guys have specific questions about your scenario, because everybody's scenario is different, the numbers are different for everybody, and we certainly can't cover every situation in this podcast, reach out to Todd, reach out to myself, and we'll be happy to go through it and give you the best advice that we can for you and your family. So thank you, Todd, as always.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. So we'll see you guys back here next week. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/Chris Grano, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure to tell a friend. We'll see you guys next week on The Update.